Happening today, a Democrat senator is traveling down to El Salvador to try to get a deported, suspected migrant gang member back to the United States.
It's really incredible when you think about it. This comes as other Democrats push for a welfare check at the mega prison where the worst of the worst are being held.
Maybe let's just get his aura ready. Make a check on him.
Griff Jenkins is live in Washington with more. So, Griff, suddenly this is an issue the Democrats are embracing.
Well, they're rallying around it. Good morning, Steve, Ainsley, Brian, and Lawrence. And look, this may be a first we're going to witness today. A sitting U.S. senator traveling to a foreign country to advocate for an illegal alien deemed affiliated with MS-13 deported to his home country. But that's exactly what Maryland's Democrat Senator Chris Van Hollen says he's doing today. Watch.
I don't even know if we announced this, but I am planning tomorrow to go to El Salvador to work to bring him home. The Trump administration themselves admitted in federal court that he was wrongfully abducted from the United States.
And he's not the only Democrat rallying around Garcia. A federal judge ordering the Trump administration to facilitate his return. As many as a dozen House Democrats want to follow. Axios obtaining a letter from these representatives, Robert Garcia and Max Frost, requesting a codel be authorized to travel on the taxpayer dime. In the letter they write, a congressional delegation would allow committee members to conduct a welfare check on Mr. Abrego Garcia, as well as others held at CCOT. Now this, as Senator Van Hollen pays little notice to another one of his constituents, Rachel Morin, the Maryland mother of 5, murdered by an illegal alien, Victor Martinez Hernandez, found guilty this week of first-degree premeditated murder and first-degree rape. There was no press conference with Van Hollen standing in solidarity with the grieving Morin family. His office simply putting out a statement saying the verdict brought a, quote, measure of justice. And there may be even more senators heading to El Salvador. Politico reporting this morning, guys, that Senator Cory Booker may be looking at making that trip as well. Guys?
And a couple of members of Congress are asking James Comer to authorize a codel so they can go down as well, both Democrats. But also there was some action yesterday, Griff, at the federal court level, and that is the judge who essentially said, okay, the federal government's got to facilitate bringing him back. Supreme Court said, yeah, you got to facilitate coming back. And now they put the administration on notice. You got 2 weeks to tell me exactly how hard you've tried to bring the guy back.
Well, that's right, Steve. And Judge Paula Zinnes, the federal judge in this case, says that the Supreme Court backed her up in that facilitation. The administration, fighting over the word facilitating return, does not demand actual return. She's actually given the Trump administration basically until tomorrow to explain why he hasn't been brought back with this tougher deadline. But I think what's going to be interesting as this all plays out is the parallel political track, because it'll be interesting to see what Tom Homan has to say to you guys, because Chris Van Hollen keeps using the word abducted, illegally, that Abrego Garcia was illegally abducted, and there's nothing in the language or in the case that dates back to 2019 that he was abducted. He was brought in and deemed for removal, just not specifically to El Salvador. Steve?
Hey, maybe you know, Griff, the proceedings on this. I don't understand why James Comer's got to give permission for Democrats to have a codel, just so they don't have to pull the money out of their pocket.
To authorize, look, as you know, Congress holds the purse strings and the party in power. James Comer is the chairman, so he would have to authorize ultimately and sign off on spending taxpayer dime to send these Democrats down on this codel to do whatever they're going to do to advocate on the case of an illegal alien deported back to his home country.
Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't know the majority was in charge of that, too. But thanks so much, Griff. Appreciate it.
Because they need security and also oversight.
I just thought the minority could ask for it.
They can ask, but James Comer can say no. However, Van Hollen is going. He's there today.
But the bottom line is,
what do you do?
Rachel Morin was a part of his district.
Yep.
From Maryland.
And I've spent the entire morning trying to find his public comments. I can only find the statement from yesterday when the person was convicted of murdering her. He didn't say anything. There were no protests. This is the type of stuff that really ticks off the American people. When our citizens die, when they're brutally raped, there's no outrage from the media or Democrats. But suddenly, this guy, by the way, the only thing, Ainsley, that's in dispute now is where he was deported.
Right. So
that's the only thing.
Caroline Levitt, we have so much to say on this. I want to play this soundbite, and then I want to play Rachel Morin's mom's soundbite, and then I want to get into the meat of this. Here's Caroline Levitt at the White House.
It's mind-boggling, the priorities of the modern-day Democrat Party. I think it's atrocious that you have Democrats in Congress on Capitol Hill who swear an oath to protect their constituents and to serve them in Washington, D.C., spending more time defending illegal immigrant gang members than their own constituents and law-abiding American citizens like Rachel Morin.
I'm very angry. I'm actually outraged, but I'm too sad at the moment to show anger at the same time. There was no action on the Democratic Party in any way, from Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Mayorkas, anyone here in Maryland, none of the senators did anything to help search for the murderer of my daughter.
So this is what's so upsetting. You have this senator of Maryland, Senator Chris Van Hollen, who's going down there. He says the courts have ordered the safe return of my constituent. He's talking about this MS-13. 2 courts said he's an MS-13. ICE has confirmed he was an MS-13, which means he's a terrorist in our country. So he gets kicked out of our country, and now that's the constituent he cares about. Is he even a constituent? A constituent is a voting member of a community. Can he vote in Maryland? Not for a federal election, right? So Patty Moran says, I live in this district. He never came to visit me.
Or my family.
I live in the same district. He could have come over to my house and said, hey, and I didn't hear from Democrats. She said, I didn't hear from Joe Biden, Kamala, Mayorkas, or her senator. She did hear from the governor, Wes Moore, but she said he didn't do anything about anything after that.
Well, the reason she didn't hear from any Democrats is politically it's a losing proposition for them.
So is what they're doing to go down to the prisons.
It's true.
Listen, when somebody, it's two different. It's the same topic, but it's two different stories. You know, the migrant kills the woman in Maryland. That's one story, but this one is so much better because the way the Democrats are spinning it is this: it was a El Salvadoran who was in the country legally and was,
which is not true.
No, he was.
No, he was not. He had a final deportation order. The only thing that's in dispute is where he was sent.
I can actually give you the background. So he comes over at 16 by his parents, I guess so-called. He'd qualify as a dreamer, whatever that means. At 19, he gets picked up, or 20 years old, he gets picked up in front of a Home Depot. And the Prince County cops pick him up, and they go, this guy's here illegally. He's a suspected gang member. We're turning him over to ICE. He ends up in front of a court, and the judge, Elizabeth Kessler, says, you're a verified MS-13 ICE member. You're avoided hearing, and there's going to be evidence, so it's going to be coming up in 8 months. So on December 29th, he appealed because he was supposed to be deported. And he says, they said, again, you're a member of MS-13. He said, okay, before you kick me out of the country, I'd like to apply for asylum. And they go, okay, you can apply for asylum. I don't know where you're going to stand on it. He goes, but by the way, if you do kick me out, it looks like you're going to kick me out. If you do kick me out, I'm going to say, whatever you do, don't kick me out to El Salvador. He said, okay. So they go, he is on a removal order.
Right. Living
from that time to 2025. He's living here, knowing that he could be removed at any moment. Now, people say, okay, he could have been kicked out to any country. Why'd you put him in El Salvador? So Stephen Miller says yesterday, he goes, a couple of things. The reason why you don't go to El Salvador is MS-13.
That's right.
MS-13 has been eliminated as a threat because the El Salvador president arrested all of them, neck tattoos and all. So you could say, on one count, he's been eliminated as a threat. On the other count is MS-13, thanks to this president, is a terrorist, is a terrorist group. So we're kicking you out for being a member of a terrorist group. So this senator and the Codell want to go down and visit the MS-13 member living on a removal order in Maryland. He's not an American. He may be a dad, but it has nothing to do with his legal status. And MS-13 is one of the most brutal gangs you will ever
look at the photos.
So that's who you're going to bat for, not an illegal immigrant.
But my earlier point was the Democrats have seized on this to say, hey, this guy who was in the country and had an order not to get sent back there was grabbed and he was abducted. I mean, that's their talking point. And that is what we're going to hear over and over as all of these Democrats line up to go down there.
All right,
but people should know the truth about the situation.
Yeah.
He is an illegal immigrant on a removal order. And if you want to know why you're going to El Salvador, You say, well, the ban mistakes send them to El Salvador, but not getting them out of the country. That's what Senator Van Hollen cares about. Not Rachel Morin, not the illegals, not the 2.5 million here with criminal records that stuck in over the last 4 years. Not that he cares about this clown.
So a lot of these illegal immigrants came in under the watch of Joe Biden. They essentially just let the border open. Now the border is 95% closed. And we'll show later in the show the difference, pictures before and after. You're going to be shocked.
Tom Homan's going to be.
That's right. Tom Homan will be on our show.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.